All right, folks, I really got to get on the soapbox here and complain about this because I just don't understand why it's like this on PS5. Trophies, you all know, big masochist here, still going for them occasionally. But Sony made a very distinct change with how trophies work on PS5 as far as what developers can and cannot do with their games and their trophy lists. Now, some of you might know what I'm referring to here because I have Tomb Raider 1 through 3 Remastered opened up on my console installed, which is this very arbitrary change, which is having platinums tied to only single executables on the console. What I mean is some titles like, say, Tomb Raider here can be a collection of games. We saw these as early as we could go way many consoles back, but for example, PlayStation 3 would be the earliest example where you've got a collection of games on one disc, and that would have multiple trophy lists on that game, and therefore you'd have multiple platinums, as those games should have. It feels like a complete game from start to finish should have its own platinum list if it is going to be a longer experience. Point being, Tomb Raider 1 through 3 Remastered on PS5 has all these separate lists, right, for the base games, and then these like extra bonus levels, and these you would expect no platinum, but on PlayStation 5, no platinum on Tomb Raider 1, 2, or 3. That's right, this entire thing, we're talking 300 plus trophies, and you cannot earn a single platinum on this collection of games, which is a very weird choice on Aspire's part because they are allowed one platinum. That's the issue. That's the arbitrary limit, is that if it's a single executable where as this one application sits on PlayStation 5, you launch it, and from here you would then choose the collection of games that you want to, which game you'd want to play from there, right? It's one single installable icon, and that is the issue. You're allowed one platinum per icon installed on the console. A very weird change, but that's how it works. Now, I'm bringing up this issue because Tomb Raider 4 through 6 just came out, and Aspire seem to have learned their lesson because they gave themselves that one platinum. So it's 3 games, all these separate like content items, and there's just so many trophies you can earn, but you're still only allowed one platinum, which is incredibly bizarre because on PlayStation 4, mind you, these have platinums because that's how it was on PS3, 4, and Vita, is that you are allowed to have multiple platinums on a collection of games if that is the circumstance of the game that you're making, or shipping on the console rather. So Tomb Raider 1, 2, 3, they'll have platinums on PS4, and it's still the same case with the new collection as well, platinums on 4, 5, and 6. And that's the other weird issue, is that you shouldn't have to be placed in this position of, well, I'll just play the PS4 version, because in this case, that's fine, right? I mean, these are old games. You don't necessarily need to play the PlayStation 5 version, but then some issues crop up when, let's say, you like going for you like physical disc prints, right? So that's me. I like having the PS5 versions of all these games. It's the latest console, so I want the PS5 prints of all these games. But the way that discs work on PlayStation consoles, mind you, it's not necessarily like, say, smart delivery. Now, there's plenty of room for them to, in theory, print PS4 and 5 versions of these games all on a single disc, but PS5 has Ultra HD Blu-rays, so you can't necessarily take that disc, just insert it into a PS4. But it's just one of those weird things, right? A 4 disc can go into a 5. If there's a game upgrade available, you download the digital PS5 version, but it's not a reverse way where you can take a 5 disc, put it in a PS5, and download the digital PS4 version. So you have to make that conscious choice of which version do I want to buy, which version do I want to play, and which version do I want to go for trophies. Now, if you play digital, obviously you're fine because at checkout, we all know that you'll be given the option to download whichever version you want on PlayStation 5. That's all well and good, but it does still conflict with somebody that, say, wants to own the game physically. Now, that also ties in with something like Call of Duty, a much more high-profile example of this, which people have always wondered, why is it like this, where starting from MW2, which had a platinum, now, every new Call of Duty game, mainline release, it's all packaged into one on PSN, and so therefore MW3, no platinum, and Black Ops 6, no platinum, which is just embarrassing because, you know, Activision made that conscious choice of putting everything into one application, the Call of Duty application. So this is where all your Call of Duty entries, your campaigns, Warzone, that's where all this stuff lives. And that's fine and convenient, and it makes sense, but this means they arbitrarily cannot offer platinums on PS5 versions of these games. And this is arguably a very good circumstance where you are not going to want to play the PS4 versions of these games. It's a modern, beautiful looking game. You want high frame rate, high resolution. So it's just such a dumb decision. But now you can see I have some tiles next to Call of Duty that prove there's a way to circumvent this, which is Metal Gear Solid, the Master Collection Volume 1, which is one of the few examples. I'm not sure if there are any others. If you know of any, you can certainly chime in, but they have made the conscious choice here to make it so that when you insert the disc into PlayStation 5, you have separate applications here that you are allowed to install separately, as in they got around this very bizarre requirement, or ceiling rather, of only 1 platinum per executable. So MGS 1, 2, 3, you see I've got 1 and 2 installed. If I hit X on this, it'll just start installing 3. So here's MGS 1, it's got its own platinum, and I believe you can pick up what I'm laying down here. MGS 2 has a platinum, and now we are installing Metal Gear Solid 3 right here, and it's going to have its own platinum. And it's weird that like the publisher can do this. Like they're allowed to offer a collection of games on a disc and make that choice of like, oh well, we'll just make it these separate executables that the user can install separately. You'll still need the disc inserted to launch these games, obviously, but that's like a way around this to be able to offer multiple platinums on these games. So it's just so weird, right? And I don't get why the choice was made on PlayStation 5 to do it like this, right? I mean, a few things did change on this console as far as trophies go. This is one I can't wrap my head around. We had 3 PlayStation consoles where it was fine the way it was, so I don't really get it. I mean, this gets into the other can of worms. I'll still complain about this, which is, why did we change the trophy icons? Why are they 1x1 icons now when we went through 3 PlayStation systems, 3, PS3, 4, and Vita, where you've got 16 by 9 icons, and now they have to be scrunched into a 1x1 square with all this blank space? Why? It's like changing something just to change it. I don't get what was the point of that. Just make them 16 by 9 and use up all this like blank space on the side and balloon up the icons a little bit. I don't... Why did we do that? So I don't know. There's some slight frustrations. I mean, I definitely appreciate and like, I've always preferred the trophy system as far as like the podium breakdown. You can see bronze, silver, gold, and of course that platinum, which requires all games, or all trophies in the base game, excuse me. I've always liked that. I've liked the leveling system. I actually really preferred the revamp of the leveling system, where now it goes much further and you can level up more often. There's even unique animations and notifications on PSN, on PS5, where it shows you that you've ranked up. So by all means, I can get behind all that stuff, but when we're making these, what I say is arbitrary changes, because I can't see any other reason why they are really put in place, that bothers me. Of course, we've talked about this again recently, which is also just the slop on PSN, which you've got all these, BS games that are handing out platinums in 10 minutes, and they very much do have platinum trophies. And that's devaluing the trophy system. So it's just a lot of me airing out frustrations at this point. But like with the recent release of Tomb Raider 4 through 6, it's like, okay, they learned their lesson. They gave themselves the 1 platinum that they're clearly allowed, but it's just a very strange thing. I don't know why they did this, but hopefully it's a change that they remove, because I can't see why they shouldn't be able to do that either. It's their own system. I mean, it's the same thing with like how trophy mandates have been a thing since 2000, little like mid 2008, 2009, somewhere around there. It's always been mandated where if you're shipping a game on PlayStation hardware, it has to have trophies, but it's their own mandate. They can remove it in the interest of, say, the PS Plus Classic titles we saw through PSN, which we know that studios can, or rather implicit conversions, can ship games through that program, and they don't have to have trophies initially, which I thought was a good decision. Anyway, we're just kind of rambling at this point, but I sincerely hope that this is some kind of requirement that they get rid of eventually, so that way we can have multiple collections of platinums on single discs and applications that you can launch on the console. That's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. You take it easy.